Welcome to the FemiNinja Project. I am your host, Cheryl I Love, middle-aged ninja, hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the FemiNinja Project. I have a very special guest with me today. I am so excited to have her, Janet Langmeier. Welcome to the show, Janet.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here.
No, it's been a long time. We've known each other a long time.
That's a really interesting story, isn't it?
Car accident is what brought me to you.
And that was when? When did we meet?
Oh, Lord, that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably like maybe 25.
No, I don't think it could have been that
Somewhere
long.
in that window. Because
Yeah.
my granddaughter was born in there, so it's somewhere in that window.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I had just started, actually, I think, my own practice at that time, and somebody
Yeah.
must have recommended me or something
Yes,
to
you were highly recommended, and it was the best thing that ever happened.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have to say, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, too, because here you are sitting in my girl cave and you're on the FemiNinja show, and I am absolutely loving it. So we reconnected, what, it was about a year or 2 years ago?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, because one of my friends was starting to see you, and she was so excited about this new person and this new book that she had read. You're flexible.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Forever
the title.
Fit and
Forever
Flexible.
Fit and Flexible. And she's like, you've got to read this book. It's so awesome. And she bought me a copy and brought it to me. And I said, I know Cheryl very well. So that's when we got back together. And
What a small world.
It is. It was wonderful. I was so excited.
Like I said, it's not only a small world, but the universe really does move in a very interesting way. Mm-hmm. And you actually invited me to speak at a group that you had. It was a year-long series. It was called the Zen of Health series.
Right.
And you did an amazing job with that. So tell us a little bit about what that was about and where that experience of starting the Zen of Health series has led you to this point now.
Well, I really like the idea of bringing people together and lifting people up. And so bringing what I thought were top speakers like yourself to that series was very helpful. And I started a business with a friend of mine called Rising Tide Business Network. It's a new kind of networking coming together, and we wanted to have speakers because I see what happens when you bring in new ideas and you bring in high-level speakers to the group. So once a month we have that, and what we do is focus on connecting at different levels. It's not transactional. It's about depth, and it's about connections and knowing people at that level of what makes you tick, what makes your heart sing, what the work you're doing. Why are you doing it? What do you love about it? How is what you do uniquely different than other people? Because, there's lots of realtors, there's many good ones. There's lots of people who are designers and lots of people who do lots of things. But when we connect people with others, we do it from a heart-centered place. Mm-hmm. And then it's not just a transaction. Mm-hmm. It's, I know this person. It's like if somebody asked me anything about you, I would be like, I can tell you about Cheryl. Mm-hmm. It's so much of a deeper, more resonant, more full connection, and it lifts people up.
It almost sounds like it's more visceral, more organic, that you're connecting with people at such a deep level that it's not superficial.
Right. We don't have 30 seconds to say, hi, I'm Janet, I'm a coach. That isn't what we do. We start out by setting intention for the whole meeting where everybody really brings what they're going to bring to the meeting today, so we have focus. And then we give everybody 3 minutes to talk on a subject or a topic. And we break into small groups so that the group can grow. You move next week, you sit with somebody else, right, at breakfast. But you spend 3 minutes on the subject. I get to know how you think. I get to know what's valuable to you, what's different about what you do. And I start to understand why I would want to do my work with you, or why I would want to refer you, or what happens almost every meeting is somebody goes, oh, I know somebody you should talk to. And it happens not just because of what they do, but because of who they are. And then we have a speaking time, and usually once a month we bring in a speaker. You're coming in May. We're so excited.
Oh, thank you.
And but on the weeks we don't have a speaker, we have our members do a spotlight where they get an opportunity to speak for 20 minutes.
Oh,
now,
nice.
20 minutes is a long time to talk. So it gives people an opportunity to learn how to make really strong presentations about who they are and what they do. Or because they get an opportunity to do it, they get to pick out what they want to focus on. So that's good.
So tell us a little bit more about intention. How do you set the intention and how do you choose it for that particular day?
Well, I learned this from my former coach, Wendy Burroughs, amazing woman. She has a coaching business called Live Your Greatness. And Wendy actually taught me this, where it's a list of qualities and what qualities or characteristics are you willing to be present with in this meeting. So we have this list and everybody gets a copy and you can pick up to 5 of what am I going to bring? What am I willing to bring today at this time together? And sometimes people only pick 1 or 2 and some people pick all the way up to 5, but we share that with each other. And so we bring things like being alert or being willing or being open or receptive or generous or kind or loving or enthusiastic. There's different words, and it's interesting, it changes every week, and people bring that energy. And then we go from that step to saying, am I willing to put aside any beliefs or things that I have that might get in the way of me actually being open and listening to others?
That is incredibly powerful because I think a lot of times our belief systems are so deeply ingrained. And once we can step aside from our belief systems or to be open to other ideas and other thought processes or other, whatever, that then all of a sudden our creativity and our ability to learn new things and to grow is just all of a sudden unleashed.
What's wonderful about it is we aren't telling you to change them. We aren't telling you to not have your beliefs. We're saying, can you set them aside so that during this time you can be open to what anybody else might have to say? And that's all. And then if you find yourself being unwilling to do that, if that starts to come up, will you be willing to catch that and hold it? So we ask both questions.
Wow.
And everybody verbally agrees before we start the meeting. And it sets the tone for an amazing meeting. We got a new member last week, and I was talking to him later, and he goes, I want you to know that I actually shopped around to different networking groups. And I was thinking I was going to go to this other group. And so I went one more time. And he said, they're really good. And I know that I can see that people are doing good things there. But it doesn't feel like what here. I joined here because I feel welcome. I feel like you're listening to the whole me. And I feel like I can express myself more and more deeply, and he's already learning. He's only been to 4 meetings, and he joined in the second meeting, but he didn't tell me this until the 4th meeting.
Oh, nice!
And I was just thrilled because that is exactly what we want to have happen: is the opportunity for people to realize that they're here to grow themselves and their businesses, and to maybe experience each other in a different way. And the other thing we do that I'm very proud of is before we even started it, we decided that we would come from a place of giving, and that giving is the quality, giving and service is the quality we most wanted to see. So we give $1 of every member's membership dues to Colorado Feeding Kids every month.
Oh, nice.
And we have a lift up and celebrate section in the meeting where we just celebrate what's good or what we're grateful for in our lives, whether it's business or personal. And we have this little bowl, and you just throw in the gratitude bowl, $1, $2, whatever you want to. If you don't have any money, you throw in the intention, right? And we share what we're happy about, what we're celebrating, what we're proud of, what we're grateful for. And that money all goes to Colorado Feeding Kids too.
Nice.
So we know every week we're giving before we even receive. And I've seen the energy of that, and it warms my heart, I tell you.
Well, the act of giving and giving from the heart really is just so gratifying, and it's just a wonderful thing. So, and I want to go back just thinking about the gentleman that gave you that incredible feedback. And my interpretation of that and his experience is that there was no judgment.
Right.
And when you take the judgment off and you know that you're not being judged, I know I do a lot of networking and I enjoy it, but I get really nervous even at this point in my life. And walking in there, it's like, oh my gosh, are these, am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be welcomed? And, am I going to say something stupid? Which, ship has already sailed. I mean, I do that all the time.
We all do.
I know, and just learning to embrace it and stuff. But yeah, just knowing that you can go into a meeting like that and to truly be yourself and to let your personality and your true self, shine through is just a completely different experience.
It is. And thank you for that, because we started this because my friend Anna and I, neither one of us liked networking. And yet we know that if we want to grow business, we needed to do it. And so we talked about it for about a year, and we studied, and we went out and looked and met many wonderful people and lots of different circumstances. And we said, but this is not what we want, because we're not comfortable going into those places. We feel that same way of acceptance and, and I don't always get comfortable talking about certain things. So this way, what we have is a topic, and it's a smaller group. Even though if there's more people in the room, we just break into smaller tables. So we eat breakfast together with a small group. So it's a little bit less daunting than you walk in and then all these people and everybody's going to stand up and you got to stand up in front of all of them. No, you get to just sit and talk and share.
Well, not only that, the room kind of sometimes gets a little chaotic. I like the idea that you said you eat breakfast together, but you're eating at small tables where you could really communicate with each other and get to know each other at a deeper level in a smaller group, rather than being at a huge table, and it's a little overwhelming.
It is, and when we give somebody 3 minutes to talk on whatever topic or subject we're talking about that day, that's a long time to talk. You're a speaker, so that 3 minutes is a long time. You can get a lot said. So we say you talk up to 3 minutes. And when we first started, people really had trouble talking that long. We would go a minute and a half, and then there would be rambling. What's happened over time is they starting to get that 3 minutes. They can really talk deeply about something because that's actually quite a bit of time. But the other people at the table are listening intently for that 3 minutes. So we're getting great listening skills. And since all of us are in business, learning how to listen and be present for whoever that person we are talking to, this helps our listening skills in our business life. And this helps our presenting skills in our business life. And then when we offer, when you have take your turn for the 20-minute talk, this helps your presentation skills in your business life. And we also have a Q&A time. So it allows people to really interact. And I can already see that, and I tell them, we're developing future speakers. But you have to learn, there are, as you know, things you need to know when you're speaking in public, and learning how to stay within time frames and be aware of beginning, middle, and end, right? So
that's actually what I was going to say, but you took the words right out of my mouth, was that, not only are you promoting each other in your business, your personal life, but you are developing new skills, and you're creating a whole new generation of speakers, or a whole new community of speakers?
I hope so.
Yeah, and doing it in a way it's very practical and very realistic. I mean, I was in Toastmasters for a while and I really enjoyed it. But what I like about what you're telling me is that the model that you're doing, it's a little bit more realistic. It's more realistic about getting in front of a group of people in a real life situation.
Yes.
And, Toastmasters, I got to give them a plug. They are terrific, and it's a wonderful way to start. But it's almost like you're taking it to the next level, rather than going from Toastmasters to, okay, now here you are in front of 100 people doing a 30-minute talk.
Right.
So it's a nice transition. So I think that's really amazing, giving people the opportunity to find their voice and stand their ground as they're speaking.
It's true. And like you, I was in Toastmasters as well for many years, and I learned a lot from Toastmasters as a speaker. And yes, we have borrowed from, like I said, Anna and I went around to lots of places over the course of the last year and looked at models and said, we think we know. The big thing we're moving toward is to have events. And our first big event is going to feature you, Cheryl.
Oh, yay! I am so excited about it.
We're over the moon excited about it, because we want to be able to do a few events a year that really allow people to network around and have a subject matter that really is important. So do you want to tell? Oh, please do tell, because we're very thrilled about it.
Well, why don't you tell the audience, the listening audience, what the topic is and what we're going to do?
Well, you're going to be coming in, Miss FemiNinja, and we're going to be talking about not being a target and learning how to be aware. And you're going to talk about safety and security and self-defense. And I know you're going to talk and you're going to demo.
I'm going to demo.
There's going to be
you
a
bet.
lunch. It's going to be a great event.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And
not
I also,
till October.
I know, well, it will be here soon.
Yes.
But one of the things that I do in that talk and that presentation is I also apply those skills and the principles and the characteristics of a ninja, if I may even use that, to other life situations, not just personal safety, but these life's lessons can be applied to everything: business, finances, relationships, health, wellness. I mean, you name it, it's applied and applicable to everything. And just with the way you coach,
Yes.
it's so simpatico with my belief systems and stuff with the neuroplasticity and the changing your mindset. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your coaching?
Oh, thanks. It's my passion. And it's at the core of everything that I do, because I can't not do it no matter what I'm doing. In fact, I had a phone call on my way over here to you this morning from a friend of mine who has been in my classes, and I did some coaching with her as well. And she said, I had to call and tell you I had a conversation with my daughter this morning. And right in the middle of the conversation, she said, I'm going to pull out my inner Janet Langmeier. And I almost fell off. I was like, I'm driving the car. I can't fall off my seat. I'm driving. But those kinds of things just, make my heart warm. And my daughter calls me an actualization mentor. She said, Mom, you can't be a coach. There's so many people out there who coach. You don't coach. You help people actualize what's inside, what it is they want to be. And that's really how I look at it. And that's the way I teach classes too, is you're already okay. There's nothing wrong with people. I'm not here to fix people. This notion of we have to change. Change is a choice, but it is also part of life. It is like you can't not, it's the one constant, right? It's change. So I always look at you as, here you are, this beautiful flower. And when I first meet you, you might be in a bud stage. You might be partially opened. But part of our work together is to allow you to be what you want to be. And it changes. And when in some of my classes are shorter, some of them are longer. But what happens is they may start with an idea. Almost everybody starts with, we talk about dreams. Okay, and when everybody starts at the beginning, it'll be something like they think a dream has got to be some big goal outside of themselves. And I get, especially when I work with people who are what I call the next chapter of life, where we're semi-retired, or they're looking toward that next phase in their life and they don't know what they want to do, or somebody who's got a job that they want to get out of. They always think it's this external thing that they have to do or be, when really it's an internal expression of themselves that will be outpictured in something. And so if instead of looking at, I want to be and fill in the blank and then chase it, I help people to get in touch with, what does it feel like to be that? What would I look like if I was that? How would I be in the morning when I wake up if this is what I want to do? So I've had somebody who really, really knows that she wants to be a business owner. And I started working with her a few years ago. And she called me up. She happens to be my niece, but she doesn't know me well, or didn't know me well, because she's so much younger. And her father and I've coached him for years in his business. And he said, you need to call your Aunt Janet. I mean, that's like asking her to call, blank. She knew who I was, but she didn't know me. So she finally screwed on the courage and called me. And she wanted to get into business. And she had a really good job. I mean, a really good job, and it had great benefits, and she was highly respected, but she wanted so bad to start this business. And she's a dietitian, and she wanted to get into this on her own, and she was just terrified. And we just walked through, what did it look like? If I get up in the morning and I don't go to work at this job, what does it feel like to get up in the morning and do my own thing? What happens with my daughter? What happens with my husband? What do the clients look like? And we just started feeling it and seeing it and picturing it. She started writing a story about what she wanted. I am so proud of her. We got to be, of course, very close.
That is another gift in that whole process.
Well, and what's a triple gift for me is that it's one of my own nieces, right? I mean, it's become an even more special thing. But tomorrow, she is going to be speaking at a regional conference in Minnesota as a leader in her dietitian and the kind of work she does in nutrition. She was asked to do this. I'm so proud of her. If I could get on a plane tomorrow morning, I would.
Oh, that is phenomenal.
And she's grown her business to where she's out there, and now she's doing
Wow.
this.
And how long
Yeah.
did that take? I'm just curious.
Well, it's about 2.5 years.
That's really not that much
no,
time.
No,
That's pretty fast.
She really stayed focused. There's goals and there's dreams. They're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And what we would do is we would have the dream and keep the dream first and foremost, because that's how you feel about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you envision it. And then the steps for the how come up. I always say the what is the dream. Mm-hmm. You do the job of the what. Mm-hmm. The how starts to show up. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. People would show up, and she got opportunities with groups, and it's because she's so good. People just started showing up, and she started getting introduced to, you know how it works. We both have done it.
Yeah.
And just things just started to happen because she kept her focus always on the dream. Whenever she started to feel like she was chasing and she started to get into the how and try to figure it out, that things would get wonky. Mm-hmm. And then she'd call me up. I know I don't have a session, but can we have a session? Mm-hmm. And I would always find a way to make time. But she's just one example of other people. I've actually loved working with young women entrepreneurs. I have quite a few young women entrepreneur clients.
It's very exciting to hear that there are young women out there who are trying to start their own business and go into something that they really love to do and want to do.
Yes.
Have that passion and that deep drive to do it. And, because traditionally, I don't know, we're about the same age, and it was always, like, no, you have to get a job. Somebody will pay you that regular paycheck. And going out on your own was kind of poo-pooed. It was just not something that was really, it was kind of frowned upon.
Walking away from that very good paying job that she had was a really big decision. And because, she had such great success, and she continues to, and I'm very proud of her for many reasons. Her sister, who knew me even less than she did, which is hard to believe.
She didn't even know you existed.
They know, I've been kind of, because I've always lived away, and I'm the oldest in the family, so their father is one of the younger ones in our family. And they're younger. I mean, all my kids are older than these girls. But anyway, because she had such success, she kept on her sister and said, "You've got to talk to Aunt Janet, you've got to talk to Aunt Janet." Finally, one day I get this phone call, and she was a mess.
Oh.
I mean, just, how when you hit a wall and everything in your life is going, and I have permission from both of these girls to tell the stories. So, but literally just went through a big breakup, had to move out, two teenage kids, moved into 1-bedroom apartment with their 2 teenage kids.
Ugh.
And she was going to ask her boss for a raise, and she'd worked for him for years, and she's calling me, and she's a mess because she went in and asked for the raise and he fired her.
Oh.
Yes, that's exactly where she was, and that was exactly the response that she had. The look on your face is the sound that she had.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately, the listeners can't see my face.
No, but they could hear the and they were all doing the same thing with you. And that's where she was, and I'm like, okay, let's back this up. What is it that you really want? What's your heart's desire? And she knew, because most of the time we know what it is we want. She knew, and she had always wanted to run a flower shop of her own. She always wanted her own business. And she's like, but I can't do that. And you hear the limiting belief right away, right? And I said, okay, so maybe you can't, but let's talk about the what right now. And that's what we did. We focused on what she really, really wanted. Well, then a few days later, she called me, and she's still kind of in a panic, but she had talked with her father. And he had said, I told you years ago, if you want to start your own business, I will help you financially. Mm-hmm. Me and Mom, we've talked about it. We're in a position we can help you, but this is what we'll do. And it was a very business-like thing. And I'm going, okay, you've got the what here right now, and you've got the means. Why are you still saying no? Mm-hmm. She had to think it through. That was October. This is the Lord's truth. By May of the following year, not only had she opened her flower shop, but what had happened is she was making all the arrangements to get the flower shop up, and then she called this wholesaler that she had worked with for years because she worked at a flower shop. So she had run the business. She knew the business end of the business. She called this wholesaler who she knew to get flowers for her new shop that she was going to be opening. And she had everything in place, and they talk, and he goes, why are you not buying my business?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Okay,
goes, I just got chills.
I didn't know it was for sale. And he goes, I'm losing my building, and I want to retire, and I know how good you are. Why don't you buy my business? So she already had at least another space, and she let that space go. She got a space, and this is literally within walking distance of her home, which is being built at the same time, literally buying. She had bought property a number of years earlier. And so she's building a house, she's opening a business, and she bought an existing business with cash flow.
My
and she
goodness.
took over the space with a renter upstairs to pay for the. Now this is the. There's as she she would call me and she'd say, I can't believe this stuff is happening. This is, and people can say, oh, this is just luck. No, this is focus. The universe will bring you way beyond what you can expect if you stay focused on your dream. Her dream had been in her heart for so many years. She finally allowed it. And what we did is we worked on allowing instead of getting in the way. She's so busy.
Wow.
She's just like crazy busy.
That's just crazy.
Isn't that a great story?
It is a wonderful story. And what you're telling me, or what I'm hearing in my own head, is the focus. But not only the focus, it was the focus and the intention.
Absolutely.
At the same time.
Yes.
That it's almost like you can have the focus, but if you don't have the intention, it's like the intention is kind of like an accelerator.
It is. And it's the same of talking about dreams and goals. If you don't have the dream and you only have a goal, you need more power than just you to fill a dream. A goal is something you already know what to do. You do the next thing and you just go to the goal. But when you have it within that dream, that's the intention. That's that clarity. That's that thing that's bigger than we are. And that's something that we sometimes get afraid of doing. And both of these girls took the plunge, and I always say there's a story behind the story. Well, the story behind the story was her parents were in a position to work a financing deal for her.
Right.
But she's in a position where she's paying, she's got, basically they became her financing option. But that's no different than going to a bank or any other place.
Yeah.
That still showed up, So, and I've got plenty of other stories, but these girls let me tell their story. And I'm always proud of it for many reasons, but the biggest reason is that they held to their dream. And in the flower side, her kids literally came down. They tore things off the walls. They had to, paint the place. And she's got 2 teenage kids, and they're down there helping mom, doing the thing with them. It became a family thing that really helped them kind of heal from the stuff they went through. And now they're in a house where they have their own rooms. And they're doing great.
So the thing, another thing I'm getting this take-home message from this is that we need to dream.
Oh, yes.
And dream big. And I think that's something that a lot of us have forgotten how to do.
Well, you know what I always say? If you're still breathing, you're dreaming.
Oh, well, there we go.
If you're not, you will stop breathing eventually. You'll just start, you can watch people who start to die alive, right? They wither. And so dreams, no matter how they are, they're important. And it doesn't, I have a really good friend who's in that stage of life where she doesn't have to work anymore. And isn't that lovely? And she's like, you can only play so much golf. You can only go, she does some volunteer work. But she's like, I couldn't, when we started, she took my 12-week class and she called me and she goes, I can't dream. I don't know. Because again, she was thinking the dream was outside of her.
Right.
And so we started talking about what's really going on for what do you really want? How do you want to live this time of your life? And she goes, well, I've already done a lot of traveling. She had done a lot of traveling. She goes, and I still enjoy it, but not to the degree. I don't need to do the international anymore. I kind of want to do things closer to home. I enjoy my grandkids. I enjoy my friends. But she's got a few little things that she likes to do. But more than anything, she wanted peace of mind. And we talked about that. And I hear this in a lot of people. If I could just be in a place where I have peace of mind. And I don't know how to get peace of mind. And I said, what's wrong with that as a dream? She goes, you could dream that?
Oh, gee.
And I'm like, well, yeah, because again, it wasn't something outside of herself. She wasn't going to get a new job or, she doesn't need to lose weight and she didn't need a new relationship. Those pieces are good. But there's some things in her life that make her hold on to thoughts that they're limiting. There's still things where she says, I can't do that. And I'm like, oh, well, what's wrong with that? As a dream of just peace of mind. And over the last year, listening to her conversations about herself, she wrote a new story about how she sees herself in the world instead of how she thought she should see herself in the world. Because this is how a mother and grandmother of a certain age should behave. And these are the kinds of things that they should be doing. I'm like, where did you get all those shoulds? We all have them.
Right.
We've all got those stories, right? And when we started focusing on peace of mind, she started saying, well, this doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel not so happy. Well, maybe we should look at that, because that causes, does that mean we don't do things sometimes that we have to stretch beyond our means, or we don't do things that make us uncomfortable? Of course not. Mm-hmm. But there is a core level of what is not who we are. Mm-hmm. And that is what we have to honor. Mm-hmm. And when we honor that, our dream just opens up. Mm. And now what's happening is she just took a trip with her sister, and they had a wonderful time together because she didn't have an expectation of what she was supposed to behave. And in fact, she and that sister talked about some things that they've needed to talk about for many years in a loving way, because they were both in a place for peace of mind, right? And so it's just, and she called me up when she got back, and we had this wonderful conversation. So these are the gifts that I get to watch people find that everybody's got something. Some people, I've got people looking for relationship changes where they want more love in their life. Some of them are just wanting to be able to have a better relationship that in the one they already have. Some are looking to leave. Some people want to lose weight. Some people want a new job. Everybody's got a different dream. And guess what? If you reach that, there's another dream inside of it, because we don't stop dreaming unless we tell ourselves that we have to. We don't have to. So that's the part that I get fun with, is I get to help people find that space again, like you did when you were a child.
Oh,
that wonder,
that childlike
wonder.
interest and curiosity.
In everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I have to go back to something you said, I think at the beginning of our conversation, was that it makes your heart sing.
Yes.
And I can see that, because even when I say those words, you just lighten up. And just, it's amazing. I'm going to have to put my sunglasses on. You're so bright. But I have to talk about that heart singing, because you are a singer.
Yes, yes.
Are you still performing?
Yes, I sing with Skyline Chorus here in Denver. Skyline Chorus is, we are very proud to say, ranked 4th internationally. We just won the 4th place medal in the world. Oh, wow. So we're very proud. We are 140 women strong. We sing a cappella barbershop, 4-part harmony. We will have a show this summer. Okay. I'm not sure where the show's going to be yet, but the year that we don't compete, we usually do a show. So there will be a show this year, and it's a ton of fun. It's part of what keeps me going, and competitive singing is different than just showing up and singing. I mean, I love to just sing, but competitive singing keeps me aware, awake, and learning and growing and
challenging.
It's always challenged. We bring coaches in and we do lessons, and there's just a lot about doing it. I used to quartet. I'm not in a quartet right now, but that's also it's about growing, and you bring the gift of song, and it's one of my favorite things that I do.
That is amazing.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, well, no, I can't imagine you ever not being enthusiastic or excited about something. And so how can people work with you, or how can they find you?
Well, I have a website, janetlangmeier.com, and that shows some of the classes that are coming up. I'm on Facebook, my name, and I also have, my business is called All Out Coaching, and you can find that on Facebook. I have a couple of classes coming up. My big class is a 12-week online. Okay. Once a week, 1 hour a week online. And I like that. I call that one Roadmap to Your Dreams. And I love teaching this class because each week we take another element of dream making and we build on it. And you do homework in between. And I do it on Zoom. I do limit the size of the class so that people actually get a chance to know each other.
Oh, nice.
My last class, when it was over, they were so sad. They were like, well, what are we going to do now? And so I'm doing an ongoing once a month with that class.
Oh, nice.
Because once you get into growing your life from a dream, something that really is that wonder that's still inside of us, you don't want to let go of it.
Not only that, I would think that it would be something difficult to cultivate on your own. And if you don't have that connection with other people who have experienced it, they probably look at you like you're nuts.
Well, I'll give you an example of that. Thanks for bringing that up. I did a free class for one of my clients for her business, and I just did an hour live class, and anybody could come. And I basically was doing it on what I would call basic mindset ideas and things that can get in the way of your dreams and your ideas. And so it was 1 hour, and anybody could come to it. And 2 of the people who are in my 12-week class came to the class, and they had already finished it, and they're already in the ongoing thing, right? Mm-hmm. But the other people in the class had never had exposure to what we're talking about. And about 15 minutes in, my daughter, who lives in New York, called into the class. She wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. Well, she couldn't come in on visual because she came in on a phone, so she just came in audio. And it was a great class. It was a lot of fun. People, got a lot of stuff out of it. It felt good. And about 20 minutes when the class was over, my daughter called me. And she said, "Okay, so Mom, you had 2 ringers in that class." And I said, "No, I didn't have any ringers. I mean, I didn't set anything up, but I did have a couple people who showed up who have been through my classes." And she said, "Well, it was this person and this person." And I said, "You're right. How did you know?" And she goes, "They talk completely different. They were very positive. They were very uplifting. They could see challenge, and they were sharing ideas on how you can overcome and how you can shift and change your mind." And she said everything about him was so like life-giving. And I had not told her that they were coming. I didn't know she was going to come in. So when the next time that group got together, because we get together once a month, I told both of them, I said, my daughter thought you 2 were ringers. And but I was proud of them, because what they were doing really was they were stepping out of their own comfort zone, and they were sharing with a group that they didn't learn with what they were learning, and they were sharing how it's made an impact in their daily life. Because that's what we're talking about. It doesn't just help you build your dream. This kind of work helps you with the way you relate to your spouse or to your children.
Right.
It helps you with your level of patience with yourself. You start to have a sense of compassion for yourself. Most of us have compassion for others.
Yeah, but that self-compassion is tough.
But we tend to not give it to ourselves. Right. And so and I've heard them call each other on it. It's like, "Well, you wouldn't talk to me that way, and I hear you talking to you that way." Learning to listen to our own self-talk, learning to see where we're creating boundaries that maybe we need some, or maybe we don't. With women, we oftentimes have really low boundaries and need to have stronger ones. And in other cases, it doesn't need to be there. And we just have to learn where it fits and where it feels right and that kind of thing. The other class I'm doing in April that I'm really excited about, it's called Charting Your Own Course, Wise Woman Advance. And that one will be just for women, because all my classes except that one are open to both men and women. And that one is really taking these principles and taking one day to really focus in on you. And we'll be looking at, how do you see yourself? How do you assess yourself? What is it that you do? How do you talk to yourself? And then after you've looked at that, then we'll kind of look at, well, what is it that you would love? How would you what's the life you would love to live? Maybe you're already living it. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're living pieces of it. It doesn't matter. We don't judge it. We just look at it. And then after lunch, we'll be looking at, what's the legacy that you want? Let's not wait until we die and hope that we had a legacy. Let's build it now. And so if you were looking at yourself from a legacy point of view, how would that look like? What would that look like for you? And what would you want your friends, your family to say now?
Right.
And the women I've talked to about it, they're like, "I've never thought about that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but let's." Wow. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about, because we're a living legacy today. And everything and everyone who comes in contact with us. I mean, just the phone call I got this morning saying I brought up my inner Janet Langmeier, that made me go, that was a piece of my legacy happening, right? And I thought of it and just went, I shouldn't have been driving, because it was really hard to stay on the road. Because that was a great thing to have somebody say something like that, because then you're impacting people in such a positive way.
Exactly.
And that's a gift that I never would have known. So I do some one-on-one coaching, not much, and I do what I call a strategy session. And I like to do strategy sessions, and those are free, that I do with people before we do the 12-week course too, because before you decide that you're going to do that kind of work that we do, I want to be sure you're ready for it, and that you want to do it, and that you want to do it with me,
right?
And that I want to do it with you, so that we both establish trust with each other first. And then if we have that and we feel good about it, then we can go forward and decide to either do personal coaching or classes. But the 12-week class is not something I just let people just sign up for without talking to me. If somebody signs up, I reach out, because it's just, it's a joyful experience, but as you know, many of the things that bring us joy sometimes brings us a little rain first, right?
Yeah.
And to trust that you're going to be able to go through whatever it is that comes up for you and know that you're in a safe place to do it.
Well, the other thing is you have to maintain the integrity of the group.
Yes.
And because when you're explaining or you were telling us the story about how, those other people were talking and it was just kind of so uplifting, and it just brought me back to the title or the name of your networking group, Rising Tide, because that's what you're doing is you're really elevating each other through their own experience and their own process of this rather than pulling each other down. And so you really want to make sure that you have the right personalities or the right mindset even going into it.
It's the willingness.
Yeah.
All you really need is willingness. There's a famous story of Werner von Braun being called to the White House for JFK. I'm dating myself now, but this is a very well story. When JFK said, we're going to go to the moon. And he calls Werner von Braun into his office and says, what's it going to take to get to the moon with a man and bring him back safely to Earth? What's it going to take? And von Braun, wouldn't we think that he would say, well, we need this many people and this much money and this many men and we've got to have this much facility and all this stuff. And he said the will to do it.
Oh, boy.
Isn't that a great story?
That is a wonderful story.
And that's what I look at when I look at people coming to my classes or doing coaching work. Do you have the will to do it? Not the willpower, but the will to do it. If you have that, nothing else matters because willingness brings with it the gifts of unfolding, right? And so I tell that
Which
story.
is a little dangerous.
Sometimes.
It can be. It can be scary.
If we can send people to the moon and back, we can send ourselves to our own moon and back, right? We all have the desire to do that in some way, shape, or form. And you're right, there's no judgment on what it is that you want.
Right.
And there's no judgment on how it's done because we don't do the how, we do the what.
Wow. That is just so powerful.
Yeah. Well,
that is just so powerful.
As we say, rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I just have to, we're going to wrap this up, but there's one thing that I have been meaning to say, that wonderful story about your niece in the flower shop.
Oh, yeah.
And how that unfolded after she was absolutely devastated and was fired. And all I want to say is na 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 to the guy that fired her, because it's like, didn't she show him?
Well, and here's what's interesting is without knowing it, because of the other guy, of her buying the other man's business, she'll now become his competition.
Oh, God. Excuse me, I get very emotional.
What goes around comes around, right?
That's beautiful.
So what I said to her when it happened is because she was so upset, the first thing I said to her is take a deep breath, because she had to focus that she could breathe at that point. And I said, and now let us be grateful. And she said, what? I said, I know right now you want to scream and yell and say that you've just been done the biggest disservice. I said, but what I want you to know is the biggest gift you've ever been given is right now in this moment, because if he hadn't fired you, you would still be thinking it was okay to work at that job for what, $1 more an hour? You were eking out a living there. Even if you have to get a different job, whatever you have to do, doesn't matter. This you need to be grateful for. And I said, you know what? In your gratitude list, because I have all my clients do, gratitude journals. In your gratitude journal, I want him to be at the top of your list for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
And we want to always hold him in gratitude, because sometimes the things we think are the biggest horrible disasters tend to be, that's the break. We talk about how, if you crack it open, that's what's it. Well, when it cracks open, the shell gets broken, and that's not always without some pain or discomfort, but you couldn't have what was inside without it, right? And so I told her, I said, you're cracked open and right now you think you're bleeding, but let's be grateful, because if you can be grateful for this can move fast. Wow. Well, and it did. I mean, she was talking 6 months later, and it was a really scary, fast 6 months. I mean, if you've ever built a house, you know what it's like. I mean, even just buying a house is a big thing, but building a house and building a new business and opening it all in a 6-month period of time. She was a pretty tired girl, and whenever she would be, we'd call and we'd talk about where she was, we'd always start with, let's be grateful. Let's appreciate, you wouldn't be given the opportunity to do this if you didn't have the wherewithal. And she had a lot of support from family and friends and created a whole new life for herself and her children. And of course, we don't live on an island. All of us need the help of the people around us, right? But when we hold to something we really want, people show up. Wow. Opportunities show up. That's the how, the why is not our business and the how is not our business. The what is our business.
I think that's another really interesting take-home point, is that from the depths of despair, you can build something that you never even imagined you could have. And that's powerful. I mean, that's the way of the ninja. I mean, that's what you do. You live to fight another day, and I air quotes around fight, because that's really not the way of the ninja. We're not about fighting. We're about making the best life possible. So, Janet, thank you so much for being here. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Every time I talk to you, I'm just, I'm willing and ready to take on the world all over again. So it's been wonderful having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I look forward to you speaking in May at Rising Tide, and I look forward to October when we turn the world on its ear when you speak at the...
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's always good to be with you, Cheryl. Thank you so much.
I would love to have you back on the show in a couple of months and just see where you're at and what's going on with Rising Tide, and hear a little bit more about what's going on in your life.
Well, thanks. I'd come back anytime for you.
All right.
Okay.
And to my listeners, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you. And just remember to dream and dream big, because that is the way of the FemiNinja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the FemiNinja Project. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.